When you stepping out on the rack, even when there's no weight on the bar, do me a favor and approach it as if you're lifting a lot of weight. Take very, very small steps back. And when you start off, do me a favor and make sure your feet are a little bit closer when you're unracking the weight, more so than the feet being wider. Keep telling y'all, one of my favorite movements, hands down, squats. Fucking point blank, period. Ain't no movement better than squats for me, and develop the entire body as one. It's squats. Because remember, when squats, keep telling y'all, do understand, once this bar get heavy, you need to make sure you have a significant amount of trap strength so your traps can actually bear the weight that's on the back. You understand? It's very important. A lot of women deal with this because they don't want to train upper body or they don't want to train forearms. I keep telling y'all ladies, make sure you strengthen the forearms, make sure those shoulders are 100% strong, because once you start going up with the weight, that can help you avoid any neck or shoulder pain or even injuries that you might experience from trying to bear the weight. So with that is said, me personally, like I said, I always like to go maybe bar 1 or 2 times depending on how I feel. I might do bar twice this particular time and then slowly go over weight, but I'm gonna keep it 100% real with y'all. I'm not really focused on a lot of weight today. I just want to keep it nice and light, get my body nice and warmed up. I actually like hitting legs before I actually hit a lot of upper body movements. That's just a big thing for me. So if I'm not really, if I want to maximize my upper body, sometimes I'll do leg extensions to start off. Sometimes I'll do leg curls to start off, or even squats. Those might be 3 movements that I incorporate before I go into my chest, back, or even arm activity. Just because, do understand, if you want that testosterone levels to increase, if you want those testosterone levels to increase, a great exercise to help that would be leg exercises. Not just squats itself, leg exercises in general, because do understand, as a male, you cannot tap into your true strength if you do not hit those legs. And stop being scared to hit a little bit more weight. If you're a little uncomfortable with going crazy heavy with the weight, when it comes down to the actual squat from the barbell itself, do me a favor and do Smith machines. Smith machines are a great way to get started. Remember, the resistance on the Smith machine starts off at 25, so that's even more of a plus. And generally the bars sometimes, depending on the Smith machine itself, the bars can be thick or thin, which can work in your favor as well. Thinner bars are gonna be easier to grip on your shoulders itself, and with the thicker bars, don't get me wrong, it may be a little bit tougher for your shoulders to be able to bear, but when you grip your arms together, you're 100% good. So keep that in mind. We can keep it super simple with these. Like I said, I'm gonna start off with about 10 to 15. It generally depends on how I feel. I generally go for 15 when I'm not as loose as I wanna be, so those extra 5 reps to kind of help out before I go up with the weight. But me personally, I think just because of what I just did from the glutes and the core work, it's gonna be easy for me to kind of go up with the weight, so I might just end up doing 10. But we gonna see. We gonna see. It's all based upon how you feel. But last but not least, this is the cheat code. I'm giving y'all a straight fucking cheat code. This is something that I use myself. Do understand, if you're trying to get faster, stronger, sometimes actually incorporating gear like knee sleeves, belts, straps, and etc. can actually help you load more weight without having to compensate with lack of form, lack of technique, or just completely fatiguing throughout the exercise. And that's what I've actually been doing for the past 4 or 5 months. That's why it's a lot easier for me to do 225 for 10 reps, a little bit easier for me to knock out 8 to 10 reps with 265. It's because when I first started my transition back into lifting heavier weight, I said, you know what? I'm gonna do some of the motions, I'm gonna work towards 3 sets of 15, but once I start going up with the weight, I'm gonna start using gear. When I mean gear, I mean wrist straps, weight belts, knee sleeves, elbow pads, so on and so forth. I started using some of those things because I was training 5 or 6 days a week. What it did was it actually absorbed some of the resistance so I can train a little bit longer. That's one. And then 2, it actually helped me get stronger. And that's another reason why you might see now I don't really use a lot of knee sleeves when I go over 225, because now I already know that my body is conditioned enough to be able to handle that type of weight. So this is why I keep telling y'all, slowly get stronger. Don't try to drastically get stronger. When you drastically get stronger, that's the main reason why a lot of people get pec tears and so on and so forth. So do me a favor, take your time. Look at developing a body the same as trying to get a 4-year degree. If we try to cram 4 years of information in just 6 months or even a year, how much information are we really going to learn? Yes, you're going to learn, but the issue is not just learning the information, but being able to apply the information. So when it comes down to you want to get stronger, you want to cut the body fat, you want to lose weight, make it a step-by-step process. Don't just force everything in a small amount of time, because all it does is lead to frustration. And then two, you may not even notice that you're actually stressing the body again. And stress levels, when they're too high, do understand that it actually is harder to get results. But let's get into these squats. I ain't gonna talk you out of death. We're gonna get into these squats. You know what I'm saying? You can already tell I ain't really ready. I'm just going off the whim with the squats, because me personally, I really don't like squatting unless I got shorts now. You gotta have your shorts when you squat. And give you all the air that you need, all the breathing that you need. You feel me? Let's get it. Ooh. That's actually low bar I just used. Remember, low bar, you're gonna be able to push a little bit more, but it does put a big strain on your forearms. But another thing you wanna be careful with is just making sure the bar is balanced on the traps. You don't want the bar to be all the way over here and then your body is really right here, because when you put the weight on it, it's not gonna be able to balance out. Another thing I want you to be mindful is, when you stepping out on the rack, even when there's no weight on the bar, do me a favor and approach it as if you're lifting a lot of weight. Take very, very small steps back. And when you start off, do me a favor and make sure your feet are a little bit closer when you're unracking the weight, more so than the feet being wider. When your feet are wider, it's actually harder to get the stability that you want. So do understand that at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to get more done when you follow some of these steps. Take baby steps back. Make sure also the bar isn't too high. So this is a great example. If you're squatting, this is too high for me. If you're squatting, right, and you gotta do this to get the bar off, do understand one thing. Guess what? The bar is extremely too high. I would rather you dig a little bit lower when it comes down to your squats. Like, this is perfect. You step in, make sure your hands on the groove, just like this. Step in. Put the weight on your traps, or if you're going low bar, it's gonna go a little bit under the traps. Step in just like this, feet super close. Now you step up, perfect. And then remember, baby steps back. Baby steps back. And then now, once you get your baby steps back, your footing is good, then we open up the stance from here. It's very important to do these things and practice these things at smaller weight before you start getting into the bigger weight. Trust me, it's gonna make a tremendous difference with your squat. You can actually lose about two, three reps. For one, just from the bar being too high, and then two, taking too big of steps. Because do understand, once you put that weight on your shoulders, the workout starts. So you want to be very strategic from there in regards to what is the next thing you want to do. Also be mindful, be very mindful, just also be mindful that when you're doing your squat, you want to make sure your foot drive is nice and solid. So I always recommend, make sure you fix your footing first before you go into your squats. It's very important to understand. You don't want to start fixing your footing when you're about 3-4 reps in, because once again, that could take away a few reps, mainly if you're someone that's lifting a little bit heavy when it comes down to the weight. So be careful of those things.